This is the largest margin, Jesse, in Capital One Orange Bowl history, 60-point win. The largest margin of victory in a bowl game by any team, topping their own record.
Watching this tape, you can see this team and the way they played Florida State last year at home. This was going to be a tight game. I did not foresee them manhandling the Florida State defensive line to the tune of 267 rushing yards again, like this. That's a shot.
Here comes a blitz. They don't want to give Uyunglele room to get it to the end zone. He'll heave it. It's down near the goal line, batted down by Memphis, and their sideline explodes. The Tigers, with Julian Barnett knocking it down at the goal line.
So as you have seen, FSU has been in shambles this year. After starting the season ranked 10th, they have fallen to Georgia Tech in a tough loss and then Boston College. Now considered to be one of the worst teams in college football. And we're still looking for the dude who said he would eat dog shit. You're not escaping me, buddy. I will find you. Nah, I would start to climb up from 2020, but let's be honest, nobody wants to see that. So in 2021, this somehow still sophomore QB and a second-year coach led the Seminoles to a 5-7 record, and they may have lost to an FCS school, also only had one player get drafted. And they lost Travis Hunter to Jackson State, but it was only the beginning. The following season, they opened up with picking up players like Trey Benson, Tatum Bethune, Jared Verse, and Caden Lyles. They went on to open the season beating LSU, who had Jaden Daniels and Jay Ward in New Orleans, by the way. Then the next week walked into Cardinal Stadium against Louisville and stomped them at home. And then Jordan Travis followed that up with 321 yards passing on 62% against Boston College. Then they sold. But then they got right back up after Travis's 396 passing yard game. Honestly, it was truly a blessing he never got hurt this season. Even later on in the season, Trey Benson was going off with 168 yards against Syracuse, who had formerly been ranked 16th 2 weeks prior. FSU ended up finishing 13th ranked, and it was all looking up for them. They even wrote an article after the Miami versus FSU game about how the Hurricanes can eye FSU's Mike Norvell for a blueprint on a football turnaround. Ironically, this was said right after Miami had a disappointing year under Mario Cristobal, who at this time was in his first year under Miami, and we'll pick back up on that later. 2023 came in with even more star transfers like Brandon Fisk, Keon Coleman, Kyle Morlock, and Justin Cryer. Not gonna lie, why is his name Cryer? Just to inform you guys, I'm not about to make no 1 hour video about this. So just for this year, our focus players are Jordan Travis, Trey Benson, Keon Coleman, Tatum Bethune, and Jared Verse. Going into the season, Florida State got some well-earned respect, being ranked 8th starting the season and upsetting number 5 LSU 45-21. We obviously know FSU went undefeated for the rest of the season, but that doesn't mean they didn't have some dogfights in these games due to Florida State trying to sell all season. Just look at this score.
Travis in trouble, gets out of there.
And look at the situation we're looking at with 4 minutes left in the game. They still won the game though. The Clemson game was an actual dogfight though. Had players out here headhunting. Fisk big ass tried getting on that hole after it came out too. Sent them to OT. FSU got ball first, so you already know it was barbecue chicken. Travis dropped back and said,
"Ball game."
Jordan Travis throwing in a single coverage, and the catch made. They keep firing those jump balls.
And the stadium pressure killed Clemson on the other side.
The two for the game. About a yard and a half that they have to have, or it's ball game over. Klubnik deflected and incomplete.
Not much needs to be said about the Virginia Tech game other than Benson running for 200 yards. And there's no need to talk about Syracuse or Duke because FSU doesn't lose to Duke, right? Now it's time for Jordan Travis, the Heisman runner-up, to start the case. Against Wake Forest, drops 359 on 62% and threw for not 1, not 2, but 3 touchdowns, while Jared Verse got 2 sacks on the other side. Travis came back against Pitt and did the same thing, but only had 1 touchdown this time. Popped out with a calm 265, was getting sacked like crazy though. But not gonna lie, Miami was on that ass and FSU was playing like they were trying to lose in the end. How does this even happen? Let's just replay the clip. What the fuck? FSU still wins, fuck the U. And we have now reached the FSU and Northern Alabama game. Should be a calm game. No! And so the fall off begins.
After this, FSU went on to win the rest of the season, and even the conference championship. So you would think since they were ranked, they would be in the playoffs, right?
Georgia will not compete in the playoff, and this is also the first time that the team that was number one in the penultimate rankings has fallen completely out of the college football playoff field. So this leaves us with the decision that everyone thought we would end up having. Florida State or Alabama. One spot, whoever's 4 plays Michigan. Number 5, heartbroken. Who's number 4? And Alabama returns to the playoff. Heartbroken, devastated, and I'm sure there is a lot of anger in Tallahassee.
Due to Bama beating number 1 Georgia in the SEC championship, it pulled FSU out of the playoffs instead of moving them up. FSU had a chance to make it up to the committee by playing Georgia, but instead let 20+ players call out of the bowl game against Georgia. Then proceed to lose Tade Rodemaker, Markston Douglas, Goldie Lawrence, which actually wasn't that crazy of a loss, and KJ Bolden, who decommitted from FSU, and that wasn't even the worst of it. So you're presented with 2 QBs to pick your team back up. Which one are you picking? In 2023-24 year, your quarterback threw for 2,638 yards on 57% and 21 touchdowns with 7 interceptions. Had 219 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns on the ground, and his team went 8-5. Or option 2, who threw for 3,736 yards on 66% and 25 touchdowns with 7 picks. Had 144 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns on the ground, but went 5-7. Yeah, I'm picking option 2 every day of the week, which was Cam Ward. And FSU still ended up getting talent like Malik Benson and Marvin Jones Jr., which is besides the point. Even with the 2024 season sounding bad, there was still high expectations for FSU with them being ranked going into their opening game, where they lost to Georgia Tech by a field goal. But things got out of hand fast when a Florida State fan said, if Florida State loses to BC this weekend, I'll eat dog shit out of a red Solo cup with a spoon and post a video of me doing it. Well, they in fact did lose, and we are still on the hunt to find bro. 3 games in, ball still not moving like how people want, and Florida State is now 0-3. The people were begging DJ to get benched. Not gonna lie, most of the problems have been pushed on their new quarterback, DJ Untuggalaya. What people don't understand, for the past 3 to 4 years, Norvell had ran with having a Heisman level QB in Jordan Travis, who basically carried them up until injury, leading them to finish undefeated. And that Georgia game doesn't count for real. They developed a foundation of winning led by one guy. Prior to Jordan Travis, they were dog shit. And on the other side had players like Jared Verse, who was 3rd in the ACC with 9 sacks, and Tatum Bethune, who had 70 tackles in the 2023 season. Also, DJ currently is on his 2nd transfer since being in the NCAA. In his last year with Clemson, he led them to an 11-3 record where he threw for 2,521 yards with a completion rate of 61.9%. And then at his last season at Oregon State, he had a record of 8-5 and passed for 2,638 yards on 57.1%. When hearing this talent was joining the team, fans were not as upset as it seems at this point. Just to think, a QB with some size and experience, I'd take that over Block Glenn in a heartbeat after how Glenn played in last year. Just look back at it, 55 yards in an ACC championship game. That's part of the reason why Florida State didn't make the playoffs. But back to talking about the season. Week 4, Florida State won against Cal, where the fans were talking crazy before the game with memes. I'm not gonna lie, this one made me laugh a little bit, but that's besides the point. For the first one and only times FSU actually stood on business, they won this game, but unfortunately, the curse was still up. The SMU game looked promising. Florida State got scored on and responded with one of their own. And then that was the last time a fan could smile. Then when you thought it couldn't get any worse, DJ threw a pick 6 here, but then also got injured. And he was out for the rest of the season. Glenn was up, and with his history so far, it was not high hope for logical fans. How you only complete 34% and throw 2 picks? To top it off, October started. The month of October is what I would like to call Halloween Horror Nights. With a lineup of Clemson, Duke, and Miami, there was no chance to smile. Obviously, we knew Clemson was going to put BTA to the nose, but going into the Duke game, FSU had beat them all 22 of their matchups so far. FSU has never lost to Duke, but for the first time ever, FSU lost to Duke. Then came Miami. It was 17-7 at half. It was looking like a real game until the 4th quarter came, and well, Cam scored a receiving touchdown. I think that basically explains what happened for the rest of the game. After Miami's win, Mario responded to the statement from 2022 about how the Hurricanes can eye FSU's Mike Norvell for a blueprint on a football turnaround, with Mario Cristobal stating, all recruits in the state, out of state, can now see the trajectory of this program versus the trajectory of other programs. And well, the trajectory of this program does not look nice right now. Now guys, FSU finished last season ranked top 20 in points with 34.6 a game, 29th in passing yards with 3,519. And on the other side of the ball, they were 28th in yards against and 18th in points against. And now for a non-watcher, there's 134 teams, and they're in the top 20% of all of these categories. But this season, they did a complete 180 and are now ranked 134th in points per game with 13.3,
121st in passing yards with 1,784, 97th in yards against, which could be blamed on them always being on defense, and 100th in points against. Yikes. Long story short, they just suck, and firing coaches ain't gonna hide from the fact that they suck. Thank you guys for watching. Like, sub, and comment, and I'll catch you on the next one.